Our word science derives from the Latin for knowledge. But knowledge is actually quite a complicated concept. Sometimes we can make a categorical, conclusive statement about having knowledge, but much more frequently, claims of knowledge have to be qualified with ifs, buts, and maybes, terms that describe a degree of uncertainty. Indeed, certainty in science can be elusive. If I were asked if I know what will happen if vinegar is added to baking soda, I can answer with total confidence that bubbles will form. But how do I really know that? Because I have done this many times, as have millions of others since 1846 when baking soda was first introduced, and bubbles have always formed. There has never been a single report of this not happening. And, of course, based on chemistry, I know that reacting acetic acid with sodium bicarbonate produces carbon dioxide gas. So, I am certain of my answer. Now, what if I were asked if I know what will happen if a feather and a hammer are simultaneously dropped from the same height on the moon? My answer would be that they hit the ground at the same time. How confident am I of this answer? Very. Like anyone who has studied physics, I learned how Galileo proved wrong Aristotle's theory about falling objects. The famous Greek philosopher had stated that if two objects of different mass were dropped from the same height, the heavier one would hit the ground first. It seemed logical, but Aristotle was not an experimentalist. Some 20 centuries later, Galileo Galilei was. Whether he actually performed the experiment of simultaneously dropping cannonballs of different mass from the Leaning Tower of Pisa is debatable. But he did roll balls down a ramp at different angles and extrapolated his observations to a sheer vertical drop, concluding that the time taken for a dropped object to hit the ground was independent of its mass. Why, then, did a feather take a longer time to fall than a heavier object? Air resistance. This was proven in 1971 when astronaut David Scott, commander of Apollo 15, dropped a hammer and a feather on the moon from the same height and, as we clearly saw on television, they both hit the surface at the same time. Putting aside the ludicrous conspiracy theory that the moon landing and the video were faked, we can say that we know, without a doubt, that Galileo was right. There is no need to ask that this experiment be repeated by other astronauts to confirm the results. Let's now turn to another question I have been repeatedly asked recently. Does the presence of perfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS, in our drinking water pose a risk to health? I would have to say maybe, but I don't really know.